Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. It's June 10th. I'm laughing because, you know, I do my intro, I get into it, and I get very, very loud, but I'm not going to lie. I'm going to come straight out the bat with this. I had today a once in a decade migraine. I suffer from migraines. This is not new. I'm not, I have occasional migraines. They happen once in a while, but like once every, I don't know, man. There's memorable moments, milestones in my migraine suffering. These moments are where I just shut down and I get like nauseous and sick and like, I've been completely out of it for the better part of the day. I've been feeling good, feeling better. So I apologize straight out the gate. If I'm a little low energy tonight, it's entirely due to that. And I started going, Mr. Warren, and I could feel like my head going, no, stop it. Don't do that. It's been rough enough today. Cut that shit out. But there we go. Got that out of the way. I'll be fine. Don't worry, I'll be fine. It's my pleasure to be here. How could I miss a Thursday night just because of some bloody headache? You kidding me? Got wrestling to talk about. That's critical. That's what we're here for. I appreciate everyone joining me here live tonight on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is recorded every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, every Thursday. youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. And you want proof? You want proof that it's recorded live? I'll give you the proof. I'm about to say hello to a bunch of people who are joining me live in the chat right here, right now. Robert Larry. Hello, Robert. How are you? Kelly Tonahess is here as well. Hello, Kelly. How are you? We've got Wilpurgis. I hope is it a hard G or a soft G? Is it Wilpurgis or Wilpurgis? Either way, welcome to the chat. We've got Justin Firestein, who's here. Good to see you as well, Justin. Hope the softball game was a good time. Flowman is here as well. Nice to see you. Mr. Fretz. Nice of you to jump in. Sorry about the Leafs, man. Fantamark, our boy Ben is here as well. Nice to see you too, Ben, as usual. Peter Davies, how you doing, Pete? Oh, big pause on a pop. JPQ is here. Ow, my head. I really have to be careful. I'm like the pressure. But it's good to see you. Good to see you, JPQ. We also got DGMC, who's here as well. Good to see everyone here tonight. Thank you for joining me. And hey, if you feel like it, if you're up to it, you can already give the video a like, a thumbs up right here on YouTube. If you're watching this on your own accord, on demand, whenever you can, that's fantastic too. You can also leave a like. That's also great. But hey, mayhaps you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because yes, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is recorded live, but is available in pure podcast audio. And if you're doing that right now, whether it's on Apple or Spotify or Stitcher or whatnot, feel free to leave a review, subscribe, like, appreciate, whatever you can do on that app to show some appreciation for what I do. I will in return appreciate it a great deal. Trust me on this. You know what else? And thank you, by the way, for listening on audio. I really, really do appreciate it. The audio numbers are always great. It's always great to see that there's people that are tuning in to listen to me while they jog or perform other physical activities, which I am not aware of. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And another thing I would appreciate if you head on over to belltobells.com, BELLTOBELLES.com. If you have all sorts of things that you'd like to, if you want to bathe in a world of women's wrestling, that's where you go. We're Women's Wrestling Wire. It's fantastic stuff. Head on over to the website. Follow us on Twitter at belltobells. And I mean, if only to watch me interview Kamiyu and Maki Ito from last week. I'm going to be talking about their match that they had this weekend at the CyberFight Festival, this weekend. But it was a good interview. Maki called me a cute shithead in this interview. I don't know what else you want. in the world outside of that. So there we go. So feel free to do that over on bell2bells.com. And if you also want to check out something fun, something I hadn't done in a while, I was invited onto the Main Event Marks podcast to talk about King of the Ring 1993. And it has been a while since I was able to go back and talk about an old pay-per-view, old school wrestling, sort of recap it, revisit it. It was a lot of fun. I was subbing. Actually, I was a co-host. I was there with Troy of the podcast, and it was a good time. It really was a good time. So if you want to check that out, these guys are everywhere as well. Follow them on Twitter, and you'll get all the notifications. You'll find all their podcast stuff. And you'll find the links to listen to me talk about King of the Ring 1993. And yes, it's that King of the Ring. It's the one with the Bret Hart Kurt Hennig match. It's that one. Yeah. So it's a good show. It's a very, very easy show to watch. And you know what I tell you guys? When we're sitting here and I'm talking to you guys and gals and I'm saying, hey, you know what? You know, you don't. When people, say, I don't understand why people say this wrestler is a bad wrestler, right? There's certain wrestlers where I'm like, this just blows my mind. Why are people saying that this wrestler is a bad wrestler? If you go and watch King of the Ring 1993 and you take a look at Mr. Hughes, your opinion on what a bad wrestler is going to change dramatically, because he's just bad. He's a bad at pro wrestling. And then you look at the wrestlers that we have today and you're like, no, they're not that bad. They're really not that bad. They're just, maybe our standards have changed a little bit. Let's put it that way. But hey, go check out Main Event Marks. It was a good time. And it was a thrill for me to join them. It was a good time. A lot of fun. A lot of great discussion. Go check it out. Also go check out the Discord, the MrWarrenHayes Discord. Link is in the description. We chat about wrestling quite a bit. It's a good time. You can also show some support for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show too if you want. If you left a like, that's a good thing. If you left a comment, that's also a very good thing. It's the kind of thing that YouTube really likes. We're doing a comment streak. 20 comments on the next 20 videos. Now, we're up to 9 right now, as you can see right up here. We're up to 9. Next week, if we get to 10, I will reveal what I am going to do as a reward for the 20th consecutive video with 20 comments on it. Next week, if we hit the halfway, this video here basically hits 20 comments, next week, I'm revealing what the reward is. Ooh, Warren. That's right. So, hey, and you can go comment now just to make sure that the comments activate once the stream is over. So if you're watching this on demand, cool. If you're watching this on a stream, set yourself a reminder. Say here, check this out. You say, hey, Google, set a reminder to comment on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show later tonight.
All right, I'll remind you at 10:11 p.m.
See? That's fantastic. So later on, you'll get a reminder to go comment on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. This is over. So there we go. So that's all fantastic. So leave a comment. You can also join the Mr. Warren Hayes Patreon, or you can become a member of the channel here, right here. Join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel as a monthly member, and then you can have access to our post show. The Warren is Off the Clock. It's just for members. Once I'm done doing the mainstream here, I hop on over to the post stream, and then I open up the valves. I talk directly with you guys through Discord calls, through chat. We talk about more wrestling, and tonight we're gonna be talking about one of the hot topics that's going on in the internet wrestling community right now. We're talking about what makes you watch professional wrestling, right? Because of the fact that everyone seems to be shitting on Raw these days. A lot of people are saying, if you don't like it, don't watch it, and I can appreciate that. So why do you watch wrestling? Because there's a lot of people who do watch WWE and it tickles their fancy. There's a lot of people who watch AEW and that tickles their fancy. There's a lot of fancies to be tickled. So come and join me on the post stream. Members only. Mr. Warren Hayes Show, Mr. Warren Hayes Show YouTube channel members only. I'll blame the headache on that one. Later on this evening, as soon as we're done here, and we'll open up and we'll talk. We'll talk. And of course, you can leave a super chat if you want. And I will read your question and or comment live and on the air. So, I think we're ready to do this. We're going to jump right in. We're going to start with the weekly wrestling inspection. And there we go. The weekly wrestling inspection jingle, of course, was supplied to us by our boy Phantom Arc 82, who supplied us with the music for the pre-roll as well. If you come on here, if you join the Mr. Warren Hayes show live before I actually go live, you get the pre-roll and the music there. There you go. Hey, look at that! Main event marks are here. I'm assuming it's Troy. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. We also got Mr. Fantastic, who's here too. That's all good stuff. You know, it turns out when I was getting my notes, when I was putting my notes together, and when I was looking at everything, I was like, it turns out I watched a lot of wrestling this week. You know, like I took a moment. I was like, wow, I actually put in quite a bit of hours watching some stuff this week, and we're gonna get to it. And I think we're gonna start with New Japan Professional Wrestling. I think it's important to start. It's a bit of a tradition. I usually start with New Japan on my show. But of course, this week, we had the big Dominion in Osaka-jo Hall show. This weekend. And the big event, the big thing, the numero uno event to come out of that show. Biggest news in professional wrestling. Our boy, Shingo Takagi, I'll get it right, was crowned, of course, IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Finally won the title. Shingomania is running wild, baby! Now, if you're a regular viewer of the Mr. Warren Hayes show, you know that this is fantastic news to me. Shingo, and I didn't even put up my cool beans. What am I talking about? This deserves all the beans that are cool, right? My space shield awareness is terrible. I'm blaming it on the headache. There we go. Shingo is officially a top guy in the company now. He's broken through. He's at the upper echelons, and this is a guy. I mean, of course, we talk about his run in New Japan very much because I mean that's where he's been wrestling for the past few years. Of course, he's that's where he's been wrestling quite a bit, but he has a long storied past, right? He's the Dragon Gate champion. He's been there he's been Dragon Gate champion 4 times. I'm just going to take a pause to thank Yes Lad 316 for becoming a member of the channel. Appreciated. Yes Lad, thank you very much. Very cool of you. And welcome as a member. Hope to see you at the post show. So Dragon Gate champion, right? 4 times. Of course, he was the never openweight champion in New Japan as well. He was a tag team champion in Ring of Honor. The guy has a storied career, but if we're focusing specifically on New Japan right now, this is what's really fucking exciting. That's right. I use the F word. And I think it goes a little beyond the fact that, it's just like, Shingo's good and great, because he is. Comes in as a junior, works his way up to the heavyweight division, and he's just been amazing. He's just been absolutely fantastic. This is a guy that earlier this year, he was the never openweight champion. Last year, he's ran with the belt. And every time he's had it, he made it feel important. He had some fantastic matches with them. With the belt. He had 5-star matches. Or at least, match of the year candidates with that belt this year in 2021. Shingo's the man. And now it's like, okay, now we're moving on. Poof, here he is at the top. He's the man. He is the top guy in the company right now. And I want you, if you think about it, and this is really fascinating to think, right? Here's the thing, is like in 2021, we had a change of belts in the heavyweight division, right? They changed the design. I'm not going to rehash this. If you watch New Japan, you know what I'm talking about. Got rid of the new of the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Now we have a World Heavyweight Championship. New lineage, new way to go. A lot of people saw this as, a potential for change in the company. There was a change in the power structure in New Japan, so why wouldn't this be like is this a direct consequence of that? Maybe, maybe not. But look at what happened this year in 2021. Kota Ibushi, essentially, he finally got his shot and finally became the top guy, world champion himself. It wasn't announced exactly when he was still holding the both straps, but he's still that. He's still the first of this new era of champions. Then the second champion, Will Ospreay, he's the new champion. He's a new guy that they put in this top echelon. And look at what they do here. Look at what they do here for the third champion. They could have gone the simple route, the safe route, put it on Okada, let Okada run with it a bit. But no, they decide to put it on Shingo. So since this title has been instigated, we have had nothing but new first-time world champions in New Japan. And I think that's significant. I think that's indicative of something. I think this is a new wave of main event guys that we're getting in New Japan instead of dredging back to Okadas or the Tanahashis or so on and so forth. Like I joked, right? I joked when Ospreay left. Well, it wasn't really a joke. Look, it was a comment, but it's like when in doubt, put the belt on Tanahashi, which is something that New Japan has done in the past. I wasn't explicitly suggesting it, but it's something where I wouldn't have been surprised because they've done that in the past. Things are going to shit, put the belt on Tana, he'll be fine. And the belt will stay fine and everything will be fine and the main event will be fine. But they decided not to do that. So instead of going back to their old reliance, they're opening up to new stuff. And I think that's very indicative of something. I think it's very interesting to see where they're going to go with this because I am much more for a fresh, interesting, new main event scene in New Japan than going back to Okada versus Naito versus White, Tana versus Okada. Not that they're bad wrestlers. You just want it to be fresh. I was talking about it last year. A lot of people were talking about it. The main event situation in New Japan, especially towards the end of the year, I think from the fall into the winter, the main event scene in New Japan was a problem. So it's hard to not get behind these kinds of moves or like, yeah, at least we're trying to put some new guys at the top. Now, we can argue for sure that I'm drawing a blank for some stupid reason. we can argue that Kota Ibushi's first run was shit. We can argue that Will Ospreay's first one was shit as well. Well, he had good matches for the couple of times he defended it. He had one of the greatest matches I've ever seen with Shingo, but injury, whatever you want to call it, he had to drop the strap. Like, it's not a great start for the title holders, but New Japan isn't looking behind. They're like, no, let's just keep elevating guys. And I can get behind that. I think it's interesting. And how can I be mad at Shingo? Shingo is a popular choice. I don't know exactly what the Japanese response is, but, you know, on the Western side of things, it's a popular decision. As much as Will Ospreay was controversial, as much as Ibushi's loss made everyone go insane and were mad, the fact that Shingo won the belt almost it's universal praise. Like, I haven't seen anyone like Shingo Takagi. I haven't seen anyone do it. And he defeated Kazuchika Okada in the main event of Dominion in a match that I thought was good. Now, on the flip side, here's my problem. And I sort of hinted at it last week when I was talking about the card. I wish they had kept... I wish Shingo's first title victory would have been against Will Ospreay. I really do. I wish it would have been extremely meaningful because of the story. It would have been really, really meaningful because of the story that they're establishing, right? But I mean, he defeated Kazuchika Okada. It's nothing to spit on, and Okada took him out in the G1 last year, and you know, Okada tried to get the money clip on him, which is how we defeated him in the G1, of course, you know, all that stuff. But I really, 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 it would have been so much meatier taking it off of Ospreay, especially after the fucking great match that they had. You know, I don't know. It's okay. Like, I'm really not disappointed in it about itself. Like, I'm not like tearing my shirt off or, you know, but fingers crossed. Hopefully things will continue to go forward, and, you know, we won't have to change the champion within another 4 weeks time, you know. Look, but this is just like it's on me, right? And I thought the match was okay, but it wasn't great. I thought it never like hit any heights. I felt it was like it hit a certain plateau and it was good, but it just always stayed there. It was fine, but it lacked a lot of it lacked a lot of it lacked that final third, which New Japan is usually really good to deliver on. You know, it's like, anyway. As for the rest of the Dominion card, I'll run it down real quickly. The Bullet Club team of Taiji Ishimori, Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Beam, defeated, and Chess Owens and El Fantasmo defeated the team of Sho, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Yoshihashi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Sure, Los Ingobernables de Japón, a six-man tag. Sanada, Tetsuya Naito, and Bushi defeated the Suzuki Gun or setup of Zack Sabre Jr., Taichi, and Dookie. They're clearly setting up Naito and Sanada to go after the titles, the tag titles, which are held by Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. So that's something there. El Desperado retained his IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship by defeating Yo. This was okay. You know, I really hope El Desperado gets some high profile defenses, you know, because right now I think he's, you know, COVID has been cursing a lot of people, but I think he's getting cursed right now. I still think it was a great decision to put the belt on him because he is fantastic, but he needs some really, really good defenses. Yo wasn't that. I wasn't expecting anything else out of Yo, to be perfectly honest. Yo is fine. Yo is serviceable. He's okay, but I wasn't expecting a high level match. This was okay. This was fine. But I'm a big Despi mark, and I really hope El Desperado can get some big time defensives. That's what I'm hoping for him. And here's the thing, and I'm going to keep hammering this out. Why did they not just take the advantage here to break up Roppongi 3K? Why didn't, like, Show after the match comes to Yo and just beats him down? Just beats him down. I don't know why he didn't do it. I honestly don't know. Blech. Blech. Kota Ibushi defeated Jeff Cobb in a singles match. This was my match of the night. This was really good. The boys just beat the shit out of each other. It was really, really good. Jeff Cobb, big dude, strong dude, gets into the ring with Kota Ibushi. I'm pretty sure Kota Ibushi tells him, hit me as hard as you can, pal. And Jeff Cobb is like, okay. Like, I'm convinced, because Cobb was beating the hell out of him. Like, even Kevin Kelly was pointing it out in commentary. I mean, they often point out in commentary when, strikes land, but when forearms just sound spine-meltingly disastrous, you're like, my God, man. They just beat the shit out of each other. It was like Jeff Cobb for 10 minutes, then Ibushi for 10 minutes, and then they had like 4 minutes of back and forth. That's how the structure felt. I love the match. I absolutely love the match. Landing kicks on each other, standing moonsaults on each other. Ibushi hit a beautiful acai moonsault, and that springboard Rana, getting Cobb off the top turnbuckle was fantastic. There was a great in and out reversal towards the end where Cobb is avoiding the Kamigoye, and he ends up through these reversals nailing one of his own, which is called a Cobb Agoye, and I am fucking here for that kind of stuff. Puns, people. But it wasn't enough to keep Ibushi from winning. Loved the match. That was my match of the night for Dominion. I mean, Dominion is it's a two-trick pony, really. Like, the Desperado Yo match isn't bad. It's just there's no spark to it. The main event is noteworthy because it's Shingo's first championship run. The start of his first championship run. But Ibushi and Jeff Cobb was really great. But I mean, there's nothing here when I say go out of your way to watch this. Like, there's no required viewing. But if you want to see a good, strong match between two guys just beating the hell out of each other, you got one here. If you want to see Shingo, you want to bask in the glory of Shingo Takagi being crowned IWGP World Heavyweight Champion in front of a very subdued crowd because of COVID restrictions, go right ahead. But otherwise, it's an okay card. You can always skip the undercard. But just before you do this, we do have a super chat by Anakin who joined us. How you doing, Anakin? He says, can't wait to watch the Xbox Bethesda conference with you, Tomas, and Aaron Entertainment this Sunday. I hope I can make it. Like, I crossing my fingers. This is you trying to put me on the spot to commit, Anakin. I hope so. I'll let you know, but it would be fun. As Anakin, I think he's firing up a stream for that. He asked me if I want to do it. I said I'd love to. I'll see if I can. My weekend schedules these days are a little wonky wacky, but absolutely. If not anyone, you're going to have to keep an eye on Anakin and join him for your E3 watch along for sure. Want to say hello to Vape Ross Vape, who's joining us tonight. Good to see you. Robert Sterling as well. Hello. Khan on the Cobb. Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb. It's Khan on the Cobb. Oh, good stuff. But in the meantime, if we're still talking about New Japan for a little bit, Kizuna Road Tour is going to be coming up soon, starting in June 14th. They've announced a few matches, and here's the thing, is that New Japan hasn't been like as exciting as it can. I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. I think COVID is a reason. I think injuries are another reason. There's a whole bunch of reasons. There's disgruntlement backstage, but they're still pressing forward. I think COVID's hitting them hard. they're in a lull. I think New Japan is in a lull right now. But they're doing moves. They're trying some stuff out. Now, as many of you may know, there's a lot of gauging wrestlers who hit the bricks. They're gone, right? Because they were told to go home. The roster is a little smaller than it usually is. So on the Kizuna Road tour, they're going to do something really, really fun. And I'm going to get to it in a second. This is what we have so far. That starts on June 14. We have Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroki Goto, the Never Six-Man champions, are going to take on fucking evil Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Beam, and Dick Togo for the titles. I mean, I could not care less for this. Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo are going to take on Taiji Ishimori and Il Fantasma for the junior tag titles on June 20th. I couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. But here's the thing. This is the thing that they are really making interesting. Here's the gimmick. The thing that they're doing, which is creative, that's fun. They're doing a gauntlet, a series of gauntlet matches for two young lions who should be off on excursion at this point, should be going off, and because that's part of the deal, right? You finish your dojo training, you're about to graduate, hit the bricks, pal, go out into the world, go wrestle in other promotions and come back, wiser, stronger, whatever. Go learn shit elsewhere. Instead of doing that, because travel is complicated, they are going to put Tsuji and Yumura in a gauntlet match against some of the biggest and brightest of New Japan, and this is so fucking exciting. Yumura is going to be fighting Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroshi Tanahashi, Taichi, and Kota Ibushi during this tour. Not all in one night. From June 14 to June 23rd. Then Tsuji is going to be facing Hiroshi Tanahashi, Taichi, Kazuchika Okada, Zack Sabre Jr., and Great-O-Khan. This absolutely rules. This 100% rules. It's going to be so much fun to watch these matches, see these new guys being put up against the best and brightest of the company and just get destroyed. I mean, they're going to lose, but it's not going to be about the destination. It's really going to be about the journey. And these are two guys who are on the cusp of grace. Man, Tsuji is going to be so fucking great. He's going to be a star. He's too good. Yumura as well. I mean, I'm splitting hairs here. They're both fantastic. I have a penchant, a natural penchant for Tsuji, but they're both fantastic. They're both ready to go. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing gauntlet. It's such a good idea too. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to stretch the hell out of those boys. Are you kidding me? And this is a good way to make your show interesting with the reduced rosters and so far. It's so good. I love this idea so much. So that's going to be starting in a couple of days, in 4 days. I'm excited to see how that goes. Oh, look at this here. We have Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the MrWarrenHayes show. Yeah. Welcome, Kristen. Celebrating a wonderful anniversary. She's here to tell me that she can't decide on the piece of clothing that I'm buying for her, that I'm purchasing for her on the anniversary of her sobriety today, which I'm extremely proud of. 5 years, and I couldn't be prouder of her. And she says she's here to tell me that she can't decide on the piece of clothing. And do I have $100 to spend? Maybe not. Oh, if it's $100 Canadian, that's fine. This weekend, see, one of the things. Oh, Aaron Entertainment just joined us. Hello, Aaron. Welcome to the chat. We are one of the reasons why I watched so much wrestling again this weekend on top of New Japan, or not this week. Well, this weekend too. Look, in the past few days, was we had the CyberFight Festival 2021 that was also happening this weekend over in Japan. CyberFight is the company that owns DDT Pro Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Noah, Tokyo Joshi Pro, and Gan Pro as well. And they were having this mega event where all the companies came together for one big multi-branded show. It was an 8-hour show. And I'm not going to talk about it all because here's the thing. This was a situation where I watched the show, and I watched a part of it with Kristen as well. When I say part, we sort of watched on our own times, because sometimes things just happen. You have to watch, a little bit here and a little bit there. And for me, there was a lot of new faces here. Like, I am not familiar with Ganbare Pro Wrestling. Just don't know much about it. I'm somewhat familiar with DDT and Noah, but some of the bigger names, not as much as the undercard. Tokyo Joshi Pro. I have approximate knowledge of many things in these companies here. So I'm not going to run through the entire card because there's things that I can't necessarily speak on. However, there still are some matches there that happened that I can talk about, such as Maki Ito, Yuki Kamifuku, also known as Kamiyu, and Marika Kobashi defeating the team of Yuki Arai, Hikari Noa, and Mizuki. This match, look, this was a good match filled with great personalities. Of course, you have probably one of the greatest wrestling personalities out there right now in Maki Ito, right? First and foremost, Kamiyu as well. She's supposed to be very chill, very laid back. She had me pop a couple of times in our interview when I talked to her, and when I was asking her, "Oh, do you want a challenge for the Princess of Princess title?" She says, "Nah, this is really why." She says, "I don't want to get tired." I popped. That was such a great answer, and unexpected. Yuki Arai was fantastic as well. This was my first connection, I guess, with Marika Kobashi, who I thought was fantastic. Like, she's really got that extra something. She's very, very special. She's a great wrestler. I enjoyed this match a lot. It was a lot of fun, high energy, so, sprinkled with a bit of comedy throughout it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a very, very good time. I enjoyed it. Yeah, so that was cool. Another match that I really liked was Team DDT taking on the Congo team, and there was like it was like a 14-man match, like 14 people. No, 12 people. It was a 12-man tag match. It was amazing. It was really, really amazing. Like, for a match that had so many people involved in it, it was just wild. But, but everything maintained focus. It didn't go wild to the point where you just couldn't follow the action anymore, or there was stuff happening everywhere. Yeah, everything made sense. And everything that happened was good. There was a great build up to something that literally could have been just a throwaway match. So this was a lot of fun. It was a real good time here. Also watched Miyu Yamashita retain the Princess of Princess Championship. It was her first defense against Yuka Sakazaki, the magical girl that a lot of us know via her time popping up on AEW. this was a very interesting. This was a very interesting match because Yuka here. Think about Yuka Sakazaki when you've seen her in AEW or wherever. Yeah, the pictures that pop into your mind when you think about her. You know, she's very sprightly, happy, she's bouncing around. She's dancing. Not here. She was all business, and I can get into that. Like, she wanted to win this title, and my God, she was aggressive. She was really, really aggressive. To a point where you're really wondering, oh, okay, like this is not the same wrestler, but it was so good. And it added a whole level of drama to this. And I'm like, why wouldn't she be aggressive when you think about it? Doesn't she want to win a championship? Doesn't she want to just focus on winning the title? I was 100% into this match. Miyu Yamashita was fantastic as well. Don't get me wrong. They were laying into each other. This was a good one. And in the main event, Marufuji defeated the great Keiji Muto, to become the GHC Heavyweight Championship, which is the Pro Wrestling Noah World Championship. So going into this, I had not seen Muto wrestle since returning to Noah. I had heard about it, and I had heard that it was not a decision that a lot of people were enjoying, and to make him champion was controversial, to say the least, among the people who follow Noah, that I follow myself, that I listen to, that I chat with. It was clearly a decision that was a little off because Muto can't go anymore. Like, that's what I was told. It's like, he can't go, he can barely walk, he gets winded. And like, well, I mean, he's in the ring with Marufuji. Something has to happen here. There's got to be something that happens here. And what I ended up watching was not a good match. It wasn't good. There was a lot of laying around during this main event fight. I didn't think it was all that exciting. And I could see what people were talking about when they were saying, Muto as champion, headlining shows, headlining events, it's not working. He's just bringing everything down because he can't work anymore. And he can't, outside of hitting a few spots like, flash elbows and stuff like that. I mean, he did a moonsault, right? He did a moonsault. And people pop because Muto invented the moonsault. So, yeah, so they're like, hey, it's that guy doing his move. But then ultimately you're like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it didn't save the match. It was just, he did a spot, and that's good, but this is wild. It's really, it's wild as far as it's wild as far as a worked wrestling match goes, because his work rate is not there at all. Like, I'm sort of looking at that and I'm wondering, this is probably the type of reaction maybe Western fans would have these days if Hulk Hogan decided to come back. I was like, what is he doing? He can barely move. He can't do anything. Like, it wasn't great. Anyway, Marufuji got the title back, or not got the title back, but got the title. I heard someone tell me at some point that, there's a symbolism to this, in that, Muto was never, he's a guy that we associate with New Japan Pro Wrestling, coming into Noah and winning the title. Marufuji is the Noah guy, so there's kind of like well, the title is coming back into the hands of someone who's been know all along. I'm like, all right, okay. But there's a story, and stories are fine, but the match just wasn't there. It really wasn't good. Which, and it's a shame. It's really a shame. But it's a wild card, and if you want to check it out over on Wrestling Universe, go right ahead. There's a lot of good stuff on it. Like I said, I'm not going to run down all the matches, especially since there's a lot of people that I'm not super familiar with, so it's tough for me to speak on. But as an outsider looking in and knowing a couple of names, being aware of a couple of wrestlers and what they're capable of doing, I enjoyed myself. I thought overall it was pretty fun. The prelim matches, there's some prelim matches there that you're like, well, but you should check it out if you have a few hours to spare. It was fun. It was a fun show. All right, what are we talking about next? Oh, let's move on over to WWE Raw. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Did you know that Bianca Belair was bullied as a child? We're going to start by SmackDown. I talked about WWE Raw, but I'm not talking about WWE Raw, really. Did you know that Bianca Belair was bullied as a child? Okay. She comes to the ring on Friday, right? And she says, "Hey, you know what? I still want a match with Bayley or whatever, because she's like a bully. And when I was growing up, I was taller, I was athletic, I was strong, and so people made fun of me. I was bullied." And then Bayley appears on the Tron, and she's like, she talks about some shit, and then she starts laughing, and then all of Bayley's face, her face appears on all the screens on the Titan, not the Titantron, the Thunderdome. The Titan Dome would have been a funny way to call it when you think about it, right? The Titan Dome. Well, they got it, and then Bayley's laughing, and then Bianca's sort of like, I know, she's laughing at me from everywhere. So, what you remember when we were talking about Braun Strowman just a couple of months ago? Remember Braun Strowman, former WWE employee Braun Strowman, just a couple of months ago? I'd say about not even 90 days ago. We were talking about Braun Strowman going into WrestleMania saying, I am going to defeat Shane McMahon because Shane McMahon is a bully. I was bullied when I was a child because I was a large boy. I was strong. I was bigger than everyone, so people made fun of me. So now I'm going to defeat the bully for everyone who's been bullied in their life. Do you remember when we had that exact same fucking story not even 3 months ago? We're still in the same fiscal quarter. I'm not even mad because it's so absurd. Now, let me contextualize this a little more. I can get behind, 100% get behind someone who indeed is larger, taller than their classmates, a little larger, getting picked on. Bianca, let's say, not necessarily in Bianca's case, but, someone who doesn't have conventionally feminine attributes might get picked on as well. I can get behind all of that. Bullies can bully for whatever reason they want. So that's fine. But the point here is not that I'm making fun of this situation because how can someone as big and strong as Braun Strowman get bullied? That's not it. The point here is that they're using this story again. That they're using a babyface being bullied as another way to create and sympathy for the babyface. We've seen this so many times now. in WWE. And I was talking, and I remember clearly you guys, you gals, talking to you about this and saying WWE doesn't know how to build a babyface anymore without having them be bullied. When it's like, we need to create some sympathy. Oh, well, they were bullied when they were a kid. Fuck! It's ridiculous. And the thing that makes all of this even more ridiculous is that the people who are in this feud, Bayley, Bianca, can banter with each other. They're both able on the microphone. They both have attitude. They can both be snarky and insulting. They're fantastic. Just let them talk at it. Put them both in the ring. Give them both a microphone and just let them do it. Just let them go. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That's all you have to do. But, and there's a title involved. You don't need any other stakes than that. This is what's... I wish we could get behind this kind of stuff and just be like, look, Bianca doesn't need a reason for people to feud with her. She's the champion. We don't need to make it personal all the fucking time. Because then when you try to make stories that are personal, they don't resonate because everything is fucking personal all the time. It's so frustrating. And I swear, I was watching SmackDown and I went like this. And Kristen was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, Bianca's been bullied. I can't believe it. It's so fascinating. And I don't know why. Cannot make a proper babyface, cannot create sympathy. You have to go, oh, they were bullied. That's their go-to now. Oh, they were bullied. Just say they were bullied. Creative. They have a writing room of people. They have executives in charge of creative. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much, DGMC. He says, quotations. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon, all right? We do this whole bully campaign, microphone cuts off. Yeah, it's like, if anything, like they don't do the Be a Star campaign anymore. If that was actually still around, I could at least understand why they're doing it. I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. But they don't even do it anymore. Stupid. Hey, Ella J jumped in the chat. How you doing, Ella? Thank you. Very kind. And go support Ella J as well. Follow her on Twitter. A Wrestling Gal is the name of her podcast. You want to support that too. Ella's great. She does great work. She's a great human. Thank you, Ella, for popping in. And I don't want to give the impression that, all I do is shit on WWE, right? Because there are some good... I'm going to tell you, there's one thing that I think we don't talk enough about because of the swarm of stuff that comes out of WWE, which isn't always to our liking. But I think we do have to point out is how good Kevin Owens is and how much he's been the glue of SmackDown since the fall last year, since he started his feud with Roman Reigns. He was absolutely fantastic there. And he's a guy who always over-delivers in the positions he's put into. Even if he's going out to clearly lose a match, to clearly lose a feud, he's still going to go out and he's going to cut great promos. He's going to put his body on the line. He's going to do all sorts of nonsense. And look, and he's always entertaining to watch, to listen to watch wrestle. Look at what he was doing on Friday. Gets attacked backstage by the great Aziz, the Commander Aziz. And he gets attacked. He gets road cased. And Owens comes out and he's holding his ribs. A wrestler holding their ribs, right? You guys know. That's always. So he comes down and he sells the injury throughout the match, which is great, right? Even when running the ropes. And this is how you know Kevin Owens loves wrestling. He loves what he does. He loves doing wrestling, because when you think about it, if your ribs are snapped, if they're cracked or injured, whatever, and you run against wrestling cables to bounce back. Hell, it's gonna put a lot of pressure. You're gonna be And what did he do? He runs the ropes and he can't do it. You're like, holy shit, okay, he's really hurt. And how many times have you seen girls and guys? Oh, my ribs. But they're running the ropes, they're doing all sorts of shit. He couldn't even do a pop-up powerbomb because fucking ribs hurt. How can you not like that kind of stuff? Kevin Owens, man, he's been a low-key shining light. And it boggles my mind that they no longer see him as a top guy. Because he should be in contention for a title. And he played his role perfectly to get Roman over during that feud that they had late last year, early this year, which was fantastic. They both did excellent work together. But I mean, Kevin Owens is just too good. He's fantastic is what he is. And it's not just because he's from Quebec and I'm from Quebec. Although it does help. I like the Evereyes guys. I think they're stupid. And they're from Quebec. What are you going to do? I like Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. They're from Quebec. Sue me. Go ahead, sue me. No, literally. I'll give you my lawyer's number. I don't have a lawyer. Want to say hello to Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling, who just jumped in. That's right. Reminding you all, very important, crucial stuff. Stay hydrated. As you know, to not make the mistake I did last week, I do have my 2 drinks this week. This contains a cola of choice, but this is pure water, right? Infused with lemons and blueberries. So it's a delightful concoction. Raises the taste flavor, makes you want to drink water a lot more. Good stuff. Stay hydrated, folks. The days are getting warmer. It's important. It's crucial. 8 ounces, 8 days a week. You know what else is crucial? Leaving a like on this video if you're watching this right now live on youtube.com, or even later on demand. Just leave a like. God damn it. Oh boy. Am I going to talk about it? Is that what I'm doing now? Oh yeah. Anakin left a super chat. Thank you, Anakin. He says, I do have a lawyer. See you in court. Oh, jeez. My big mouth is getting me in trouble again. Okay. I'm going to talk about the Shayna Alexa Bliss stuff. But I hope I'm able to talk about it in a way that will be different than from how others are talking about it. I hope so. For the record, I mean, here's the thing. It's like we at least have to talk about it, and I hope you guys are ready, because I'd like to see your opinions on stuff. I'm going to read verbatim the description, the breakdown of the event, as written by Tony Acero from 411 Mania, who broke the whole thing down here, and I'm going to read it verbatim here. We come back from commercial to Bliss in the ring. She brings up last week and introduces Shayna, who comes in and tosses the rocking horse aside because we had the playground set up, right? Lily, Alexa's doll, wants to be friends with Shayna. She just needs to apologize to the doll. Shayna laughs this off. Shayna calls her delusional, says she's the reason behind Reggie's accidents. She is also the reason Nia and her are no longer the champions. Alexa laughs this off, says this is silly. She just wants everyone to be friends. Lily whispers something, and Alexa says that it would be in her best interest to apologize to Lily. Shayna grabs Lily, says she is sorry, that she is just a stupid doll. Alexa then comes after her with the right hand. She mounts and punches over and over. Shayna pushes her out of the ring. Shayna stands on Lily. Right? You remember that angle? The camera angle? Alexa hops on the apron. Shayna's foot is on the doll. Shayna stomps the doll. The screens flicker. Alexa is on the apron smiling now. Shayna leaves the ring. Flames shoot all the way up the ramp, scaring Shayna up the top. A wall of fire shoots up and Shayna leaves to the back. We get a camera backstage and Shayna is walking away from Gorilla when a laundry basket falls and nearly hits her. Some scaffolding does the same. Lights continue to flicker as Shayna tries to leave the arena, but doors are locked everywhere. Lights go out completely, then back on, and Shayna keeps saying, it's just a stupid doll. She finds a door, enters. She finds a door, enters, and there's another door. Shayna closes the door behind her, locks it, slides a casting couch in front of it, then backs into the corner. Lights go out, and there's a mirror nearby. She turns to see herself with the doll in the background. She turns back to reality to see the doll gone. Again to the mirror, and there's Lily. Shayna kicks the mirror and breaks the glass. Her shattered image in the reflection with the doll behind her. And we end with the scream of Shayna as we go off the air. So, I had to read that because I needed to properly communicate the absurdity of the final segment of Raw. I'm a wrestling commentator type dude. I talk about things that happen in wrestling. Listen to what I just read. It doesn't make sense for that stuff to happen on a wrestling show. Now, this is the type of moment where I ask myself, and I ask of you as well, gentle listeners. I ask you as well, why do you watch wrestling? Right? There's events like this that happen. I think it's important to question, why do we watch wrestling? And I would assume, Evan Wright, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. I would wonder, or I would say, you watch wrestling because of wrestling, right? You don't watch wrestling because you want to see fishing. You want to watch the wrestling. Because that's what sets it apart from any other show that you want to watch. You want to watch comedies, you watch comedies. You want to watch football, you watch football. You watch wrestling, you watch wrestling. That would be my guess. Now, bear with me here. If you, and I want to preface this, and I should have prefaced this from the start. If you find enjoyment in the Alexa Bliss, Lily stuff on Raw, and you thought that the final segment was good and was to your liking, hats off to you. I'm glad. But then I'm not going to judge you on that because it's all a question of personal taste. But I will challenge that. And I think it's okay for me to do that, to question. Because if you did like the spooky stuff at the end, this is what I want to know. From me to you. If you like the spooky stuff, why aren't you watching your spooky stuff elsewhere? Because there are shows and productions that do the spooky supernatural stuff way better than what WWE does. And you should be watching that instead if you want to get spooked. You can check out Stranger Things on Netflix, or that show Dark, right? That fantastic German show on Netflix, which is amazing. The Haunting of Hill House. Hell, Goosebumps does a better job of creating spooky, tense situations than what WWE does. That movie Ghost Stories that had Martin Freeman in it, I think 2017. Fantastic film, extraordinary stuff. Even by scary shit standards, if you look at everything I just mentioned, go see a Conjuring movie. Everything coming out these days is, by spooky standards, is better than what WWE does. What you saw on Monday is not well done. It's not well produced. It's not well executed. It's not. If there was a 30-minute primetime show of spooky stuff produced exactly like what happened at the end of Raw, we'd be laughing it off and changing the channel, and magazines would be printing articles ridiculing it. Like it was really, really, really that bad. Now I know there's people who like the crossover stuff. Like, I like this stuff in my wrestling. It's cool. But the crossover stuff can't even hold its own. Because it's not well done. It's not well executed. Don't lower the bar for yourselves. Keep it high. You should expect more. We're in a golden age of entertainment. We got multi-million-dollar productions being streamed to us directly into our mouths for $10 a month. And you think that what happened on Monday was good? Oh, but they had to do it live, Warren. No, that was pre-taped. You could tell.
I have a reminder for Mike.
See? It was a reminder. It was a reminder we said earlier. But we have a reminder. And they can't do it live. They didn't do it live. It was pre-taped. Oh, but they're a wrestling company, Warren. Of course they can't get it right. Well, then exactly you're proving my point. They're a wrestling company. Why are they doing this stuff? And this is the thing that makes it worse, if you ask me. Because, look, WWE says it's a media company. They say we don't do wrestling. But then they don't do TV well either. So, and there's a fair argument to be made that they don't do wrestling, they don't do it well. And if they can't do TV well, what the hell are they doing? If they can't make their flagship show compelling television week after week, what is WWE good at? What are they good at? Triple H, and I want to link this into the Triple H media call today, okay? I want to do this today. When he was on the Takeover media call, he said He said he tells fans to just don't watch NXT if you don't like it. Watch it or don't. He says the fans ruin things half the time for being overly critical. Not untrue. I will meet him 30% of the way. Not quite halfway, but 30% of the way. If you don't like WWE, stop watching it. If you don't like WWE popping up in your timeline, mute the fucking keyword. You can do that on Twitter. There's ways to avoid it. You won't 100% avoid it, but there's ways to avoid it if you don't like it. He's absolutely right. However, this is a hell of an attitude coming from a company. This is an attitude that can be completely undertaken by a company that makes $200 million a year licensing its content to one single television network when they're when they're on other networks, when they are on streaming services. Just the one, $200 million a year. So of course they can say, do whatever you want, just stop bitching. If you want to bitch, don't come to us. Instead of taking a moment and looking at the numbers and going maybe we should try to look inward a little bit and try to fix things, right? But no, WWE is still acting, and they're the only ones around still, which isn't the case anymore. AEW is around. Independent wrestling has never been so easy to access as it is today. You've got multiple, B tier, you want to call them, promotions like Impact and MLW who are doing great. You've got the overseas stuff. They're not alone anymore. But here's the kicker. They don't have to act like a wrestling promotion anymore. They said it themselves. And I've been saying this for the better part of 2 years. WWE doesn't perceive itself as a wrestling company anymore, as a wrestling promotion. They are a media company. So for them, and Nick Khan said it himself, we're competing against Marvel. They said it, they want to be like Marvel. If they don't care about the wrestling product, they don't care about what's going on elsewhere. Am I right? Doesn't that kind of make sense? We've heard it recently. We've heard it recently. They aren't competing with AEW. Well, they didn't say that, but they want to be like Marvel. They're competing with Marvel. They're going to try and create different properties. We've heard they're developing cartoons, anime based off of WWE wrestlers. This is all stuff. This is all stuff that they want to do. Nick Khan isn't a wrestling guy. He doesn't remember the territory days. He doesn't remember the Monday Night Wars. He comes into this company. He sits down with Vince. Vince says, well, pal, Nick, I want to make money and I want to grow our presence. So Nick's like, cool. I've been an executive in television for years. I know how to do this. So what does he do? Consolidate departments. People lose their jobs. Kevin Dunn gets put in a position of power overseeing TV and media consumption. People get cut. People in the office lose their jobs. What do you think is happening right now? And full credit to the guys at Voices of Wrestling. I'm not going to take credit for the following thought, but it makes so much sense to me. You have Nick Khan who comes in, looks at the papers, takes out some reports, and is like, you know what? We have too many people on our roster for what we're trying to accomplish here. We're spending too much money on this. It's time to cut some people. And he's doing it objectively, completely objectively. Says we have to cut so many million people. Oh, there's only one person who cuts talent here, and it's Vince. All right, Vince. You have to cut, $60 million worth of contracts. I don't know, I'm throwing a number, 30 million, whatever. So Vince makes the hard decisions, but it's Nick Khan who's being like, well, we got to do this. We're going to play it my way. He doesn't care about, I am convinced that Nick Khan does not give a shit about AEW, MLW, them scooping up talent. They are on two completely different levels of playing fields. WWE is going to make $1 billion in 5 years. Tony Khan renegotiated his contract. He's getting what, $45-50 million for a year? I mean, that's nothing to spin on. That's fantastic. But do you see that they're not working? They're not operating on the same level at all. At all. And the $200 million, it's a fraction of what WWE makes. It's a percentage that they do in a year. They're going to start touring again. They're going to go back to Saudi Arabia. They have USA Network on top of that. They have the whatever licensing they're going to get from Peacock. Do you see? It's like they're on a completely different level. Nick Khan looks at this and he's like, all right, I don't give a shit if some talent that I cut goes and plays in the $50 million yard. This is not where we're at anymore. It would be like Marvel deciding to, I don't know, not let some of its artists go work for Dark Horse Comics. You know, because we're afraid Dark Horse Comics might come up. And Dark Horse Comics is not going to run up and bite them in the ass. Come on. DC Comics can barely do it. You see what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make sense. If anything, WWE during COVID, because an argument that I hear is, oh, well, people are gonna start watching, sports again. Live sports are coming back. People are excited about that. And I'm like, absolutely, 100% sure. But if there's one thing that WWE has proven that it is capable of doing during a pandemic is continue to provide live weekly programming, 7 hours of weekly programming uninterrupted. Not even a goddamn pandemic stopped them. And that is value added. That's something you can put in your contract because the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, they were all affected in one way or another, screwed things up. But WWE said, nah, man, we're coming in. We're consistent. We are not letting go. You'll see. You'll get your live content every week, and live content is crucial for networks. It's important, much more important, because that's where you get your bigger ad sales, because people are tuning in to watch the thing that they don't want to miss, like a sports game. So that's value add for WWE on top of everything. And we keep talking about content and content and content. But what kind of content is WWE creating on its flagship shows? SmackDown, Raw, and then NXT. What kind of content are they creating? Is it good? They should be doing wrestling. But they're trying to mishmash all sorts of things. And you end up looking at the product and you're like, who does this speak to? Because if I showed to a hardcore, let's say a horror fan, the last segment of Raw on Monday, they'd be like, nah, man, this is shit. I see what they're doing, but it's bad. And if I show, Jeff Hardy versus Cedric Alexander to a hardcore wrestling fan, let's say who's, deep into Japanese wrestling, and I make him look at them and says, nah, what just happened there? That sucked. Of course it did. So what is WWE good at? And I know Vince wants it to be something else. He's been wanting it to be something else for years. But the more they focus on the nonsense, the things that they're not good on, the things that they don't hire their talent to do, which is wrestle. We're never going to get a real quality product from WWE. And the thing is that we know WWE can give us good wrestling shows because as of recently, they have a much better track record putting on quality pay-per-views than the obvious. The pay-per-views have been, there's always bumps in the road, folks, but they have been mostly good. Of course, there's always going to be bumps in the road. But strip out the nonsense, you bring it around here, those are my thoughts on the Shayna Baszler Lily angle. Oh, I want to say hello to Jason PS3, the world-renowned historian, and Injection 2K. Good to see everyone. We got a couple of super chats as well. Thank you very much. DGMC left us a first super chat here. Says WWE wants to be prestige TV, but don't put in the work. Yeah, no, you're right. Because the thing is, the move that WWE did is smart to want to focus on content because networks are starved for content, and now you have the streaming services. This is forward thinking on their part. There is, Fox is essentially paying them to put on their show. That's essentially what's going on. So it's smart business. And they're putting themselves into a very attractive position to eventually be sold. Not going to happen this year. I give it a couple of years. We'll hang on till Vince is dead. I think that's safe, but, and I don't think it's like they just want to do everything. You know what? Jack of all trades, master of none, essentially. The world-renowned historian left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, what was the last year Raw was consistently good? Oh, boy. Consistently? That's been a while. I'm going to submit that one to the chat. That's a good question. Because there's always, there's always bumps. There's always lulls. It seems to me, you see, like last year, there were some very good ups. There was a lot to look forward to. When Paul Heyman was in control of Raw, you remember that? And then we were getting Aleister Black with his with his winning streak. And they were pushing Andrade, and Liv was being put to the forefront. Like, there was a lot of good stuff there. It's just there's so much revolving door shit. I don't know, man. I don't get it. People saying 2017, 2000. Yeah, 99, 2000 sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think I'd go with that. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Evan. He says, PWG is back, baby. Danielson and Bola, please. Did PWG make their announcement? I know they were teasing an announcement just as I was getting on the air. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. That'd be great. I mean, I'm really interested to see what a COVID era PWG is going to look like. For real. I think it let me take a look. Oh, they did. They announced their first show since 2021. Sunday, August 1st. But that's all we know for now. Oh, that's cool. Wrestling's coming back to normal, baby. How can you not get excited about that? And yeah, like Evan Wright said, if Bryan Danielson pops back in there, whoo, that'll be a big deal. Robert Sterling left us a very generous super chat. Thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate it. Very kind of you. He says, I'm going to watch Scary Stories 2017 now. Thanks for the recommendation. You are not going to regret it. And there is such a fantastic mindfuck in that movie as well. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil anything by adding anything. It is a really, really good scary movie. And one of these that makes you think. It's not just like jump scares and stuff. No, it's like a good scary movie. Nick Nutter is here. He joined us right in time for the end of the weekly wrestling inspection. We are not done, though, even though the wrestling inspection is done for the week. There's still more stuff to talk about, things that didn't exactly happen in wrestling matches, wrestling rings, but there's still news. There's still stuff to talk about, and I want to say thank you to everyone for still being here and watching. Give us a like on the video. Give us a thumbs up right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Is this your first time here? Consider a subscription. That'd be neat. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, I wonder if you're listening to me at ×2 speed. I must be unbearable to listen to at ×2 speed. I'm barely bearable as it stands right now. The NWA this week had Mickie James show up on their edition of NWA Power. No big surprise there. But the big surprise, though, that happened is that we'll be doing an all-woman show this August in St. Louis, Missouri. It's going to be the first night of a 2-night NWA extravaganza. The event is going to be produced by Mickie James. She's going to be the executive producer, and it's going to be an all-woman show. I think they're calling it Empower with the multiple R's, which I think is a fun play off of power and women's empowerment and all of that. I think we have no idea who's going to be on the card yet. It's still too early, but they made the announcement. Like Mickie James says, if they're not going to give you a seat at the table, you're going to build your own table. And there you go. She's going to need a couple of months, to find the appropriate wood, and then bring it to our carpentry house and run it through and cut it and as you can tell, I know nothing of carpentry. But this is good news. This is fantastic on a day today where Triple H said, women's equality is fine in WWE, everything's cool. What are you talking about? And you get this. Look, leave it to the smaller promotions, to the indie promotions to work towards the advancement and the positioning of women's wrestling. I cannot not get behind this. It's fantastic. I'm excited to see how that's going to go. It's very, very, very cool stuff. So why is it? Oh, there we go. Okay, I just realized my hot trash was still there, and I don't want to give the impression that I think that this is a bad idea. This is a great idea, and I'm glad Mickie James is going to do something that she feels she will be able to contribute in some way or fashion. Leave the business in a better state than when it came in. Correct? Correct. Lio Rush announced his retirement earlier, yesterday, come to think of it. He basically said that I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not going to read the entire statement, but he has another injury that's made him sort of reassess just how much he does want to wrestle. He wants to be there for his family, and he feels that when he comes home and he's injured as he is, he's not doing himself any good, not doing his family any good, and there's probably other avenues that he could take to be better for himself, for his career moving forward. And I cannot but salute Lio Rush. I feel like we've been here before, and we have. Lio Rush is a talent, a wrestler that I absolutely love. I've always been a huge fan of Lio Rush. He's one of these guys, one of these wrestlers who does things that not many other wrestlers can do. He's absolutely amazing at what he does. I think it's a shame that he's retiring, 26 years old. I think he still has so much to give. Sure, I mean, his body his body might be giving out on him. Like, there's a bunch of stuff we don't know, right? But man, I mean, we've been here before with Lio Rush. Out of memory, this is the second time he's retired. He's come out of retirement. He came out of retirement last year to run a program with Joey Janela, and he was like, oh, okay, let's keep doing this kind of thing. I don't know, man. I mean, this is a guy who he was signed by WWE, was signed by New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was signed or was about to be signed by AEW, and he was working in MLW. Like, this is a guy who could work anywhere he wanted in the world. So it's we don't know what's pushing him out of the business. There could be things that are just driving him away for multiple reasons. I know he has a passion for music, and he's been wanting to work on that for a while. He did that reality show with MTV, that contest. I don't remember what it's called. You know, like, the guy has aspirations that go outside of wrestling that he feels that he can, if he focuses on, he can get into. But you kind of have to wonder. I have trouble believing that he's gone for good, just because of his track record. And also because of how young he is. I think at some point he's, you know, someone's going to invite him sometime to just come watch a show. Not to participate in, just be in the audience, hang out with the talent. And he's going to get the bug back. And he's going to be like, man. Next thing you know, he's on another GCW show. But then if you're a promoter, what do you do with him? You know? Like, you can only cry wolf so many times, you know, or commit and then flake out. Like, that's the thing. That's what breaks my heart. On top of everything is that he does this big debut in AEW. He announced previous to that he was contracted to New Japan, and I'm like, Jesus, look at this is Lio Rush's time. And then he's like, nope. The negotiations moving forward are going to be. They're going to be a lot. It's going to be difficult, I think, for him to come back and for people to treat him seriously. And again, this is just, it breaks my heart because I really, really love Lio Rush, and I hope he does come back. I really hope he does. I think we're better off. In 2021, I think wrestling is better off with Lio Rush in it than the opposite. I really do. I want to say hi to Anthony Gaston, who joined us in the chat. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I feel like I have to at least talk about Tommy End. Because I do have an opinion on this. I do have an opinion, but I promised myself that I wouldn't spend too much time on it. Look, Aleister Black, Tommy End, gets fired, goes on a Twitch stream and talks about his time in WWE, talks about his final days and Craven and whatnot, and starts spilling the beans on a bunch of stuff. He starts telling us that he was set to win the U.S. Championship, but Vince told him, no, pal, we're not going to do that just yet. I want you to win in front of people, pal, because you're Aleister Black. You should win in front of people. And Aleister's like, cool, you know, Vince, fantastic. And then Aleister starts talking about all these great ideas that he had and how creative was in love with his ideas. Vince thought all of his ideas were so original and so on and so forth. And at some point I'm like, you know, at some point, you know, I listen to it, I'm like, it's fine, you know, it's okay. People start ragging on him. I'm like, I didn't understand why he was getting so much pushback for just going on and start talking about, his time and his creative, and he's in no, he doesn't want to burn any bridges, right? This is ultimately the thing. Now, if he had done that like on a single stream, you'd be like, come on, I'd be telling people, chill the fuck out. Let Aleister Black vent. It's fine. Let him talk about it. Let him talk about it whichever way he wants. It doesn't matter. But then he goes on a second stream and then a third stream. And then, he talks about this idea that he had. Let me just read it out real quick here. So I could endlessly keep blaming, and the idea for me was that after Buddy Murphy, I would go after Seth Rollins because Seth made Buddy. But then after Seth, I would find Bray Wyatt because Bray Wyatt turned Seth into what he was. And afterwards, I kind of wanted to target almost like Vince McMahon. And I kind of wanted to have this reveal where Vince, the father that I spoke of in the context of, he is the creator of World Wrestling Entertainment. So it would make sense that the person eventually doing all this symbolically was Vince. And again, creative loved it all. It just never came to fruition. I wanted to have continuity with this character, continuously blaming everyone else for what happened, but himself. And eventually having the realization. Afterwards, I kind of wanted to target Vince. I kind of wanted to have this reveal where Vince was the father that I spoke of in the context of he's the creator of WWE. So it would make sense that the person eventually doing this symbolically is Vince. So, I mean, I think this is where a lot of people started groaning in regards to Tommy End, because his story was just, this is something that WWE would never do. We just know it. And yes, there's the argument. There's the thing where, if WWE loved his ideas so much, why didn't they put him on TV more? Why is he fired? Why was he released from his job? That's ultimately the thing. So I think back at all of this and I'm like, I still think the reaction that people had towards Tommy End is a little overboard. It's a little overkill. I think people were like, man, I think we're kind of used to people getting released from WWE and ragging on the company, ragging on Vince, being like, Vince McMahon, he's an awful human. That kind of stuff. But, I think it turns out that he's just a guy who wants to eventually go back to WWE. And he doesn't want to burn any bridges. He doesn't want to take anyone down. He's just like, I'm going to keep the doors open. He wants to go back. I think that's the thing. And good on him if he wants to. Is he going about it in a very roundabout, very cringe way? Sure. I'd definitely say that. But in and about itself, it's not that big a deal. Do we have the impression that he lacks a little self-awareness? Sure. Of course Vince will say things to placate wrestlers. They'll just be like, that's a good idea, pal. Vince is he came up as a wrestling promoter. He knows what to say. He knows what to say to make people happy, clam them up and move them on, right? So he could be telling Aleister Black, those are great ideas, pal. We'll talk about it another day. How many times have we heard that story too? Or he delivers or that the idea is delivered, but they use it for someone else. I don't know. you know what? I forgot to talk about Dynamite this week. Yeah, I forgot to talk about Dynamite this week. I'll just very quickly. Look, I didn't think Dynamite last Friday. I didn't think it was a very strong show. I really don't. I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of boring. Great. A couple of highlights. It wasn't a bad show. I just thought it was dull. Not bad, just dull. Tradition of great opening matches continues. The Young Bucks versus Pac and Penta was super fun. High energy. It was great. It's always a win when Red Velvet gets some TV time. Defeated the Bunny. I thought that was good too. But you know what's starting to get to me in AEW? I feel like there were too many. There's starting to be too many distractions in the matches, and sometimes there's no use to them, and you sort of wonder why they happen in the first place, and it's starting to irk me. It's starting to rub me the wrong way. Brandon Cutler hit Pac, with his camera, with his dolly thing, his gear. Led to the finish. Aaron Solo got involved twice in 2 different matches. The Bunny tried to cheat. I'm like, why did the Bunny? Didn't have to, because she tried and it didn't serve. It wasn't useful. Red Velvet got the win regardless, right? So it's like, in a show where you already have multiple instances of interference, why use a spot that isn't useful? Like it's kind of making me groan. Double or Nothing, there was a lot of that too. And it's a shame because, I kind of feel, AEW has had a fantastic track record in regards to keeping the bullshit at a strict minimum. So it's not necessarily something I want them to lay into heavier, Matt Hardy versus Christian as a feud, that doesn't get my blood pumping. That's not going to make me tune in. I think this is a step down for Christian. I don't think Matt Hardy's been all that interesting. They set up the feud after the Jungle Boy Cage private party match, where Matt Hardy came out and he faded Christian on the ramp. I mean, I'm saying feud. They could just blow it off in a match, which is something that we see oftentimes in AEW. And I understand, like, Christian's gimmick is, I'm going to work my way to a shot. I'm going to work my way to a title. That's what he wants to do, and I think it's the best way to do it, and it makes sense. And I want him to get behind it, so he can't just be taking out like fucking Lee Johnson every week, or Will Hobbs. He has to sink his teeth into some of the bigger mid-carders for now, if he's working his way up. And I guess Matt Hardy is one of them, but Matt Hardy hasn't been clicking for me. I think I don't think it's that great a gimmick. I think it's lacks a little direction right now. And I mean, these are 2 older guys that I don't necessarily want to see feud with each other. Christian comes back and has matches with, sure, he had a match with Kazarian, but there was history in there. They hadn't wrestled in years. That was fun to see happen again, and these are 2 guys that can still go. Christian fighting some of the younger guys, the newer guys in AEW, those are fresh matches. This is great. This, not so much. It does nothing for me. I was shocked when I saw the main event being Dustin Rhodes versus Nick Comoroto, who, by the way, of course, as we all know, Nick Comoroto is on my list. He's one of my guys. I love Nick Comoroto, don't get me wrong, but because there's always a but, he's it was a strange main event because I don't quite get, here's the thing, is that I don't quite get why we jumped into a bull rope match, which is kind of like a, you know, a feud, a top feud kind of thing, right? It's like when you get to the end of like a big blood feud, you want to blow it off with this big gimmick. I don't think we were there. Well, it's the Nightmare family versus the Factory. Yeah, but there hasn't been any real animosity between these teams because QT lost in a singles match against Cody. Ogogo lost in a singles match against Cody. And so it's the Factory, and now they won their match. Because of thanks to interference, you know, they got the tag team match earlier on in the evening. QT and Ogogo won their match versus Cody and Lee Johnson. So I'm like, the Factory they're coming off as geeks. They're not considered threats or serious, and I thought it escalated for no real reason. So suddenly it's a bull rope match between Dustin and Nick Comoroto because these two factions really hate each other. I'm like, really? They do? Because to me, in my mind, the Nightmare Factory, they're like, nah, these guys are chumps. We're done. We're good. You know? Now, do I appreciate the idea of AEW putting some of its younger talent into these top spots? Sure. Absolutely. And that's something that that you have to consider as a net positive. The main events seldom feel the same thing. There's always something cool, always something fresh about them. It's never always the same people in the main events. And if they're, you know, doing some stress tests with some of the younger talent, I think that's great. Especially when you're airing outside of your regular block on Wednesdays and it's at fucking midnight Eastern time when the show ends. I think it's okay to take some risks, you know? But at the same time, I'm like, and the match wasn't great. JR called it bowling shoe ugly, meaning that he didn't like it. I didn't like it either. And I thought the blood was unnecessary. Like, I thought the whole thing was unnecessary. And Dustin wins. So it's like, what is the Factory? What? I'm kind of disappointed in how the Factory was handled. Because I really thought the Factory was going to be stable of new guys, that they were going to elevate, that they were going to push forward, make them threats. Now they're just kind of like jokers. Ogogo got some heat back, but I would have let Ogogo get his heat back proper. I don't know. Anyway, those were my thoughts on Dynamite. I wanted to slide these in. Last thing I want to talk about before we splitzo for the night. Matt Cardona. And I can't believe that I'm actually like sitting here and going like, Matt Cardona is up to some really fun shit. Guys. Yeah. Oh, wait, before we get into Matt Cardona, Anakin left us a super chat since it's related to Dynamite. I'll go on it right now. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, not a fan of the Inner Circle Pinnacle continuing. Feels like the feud got booked backwards. 2 big group matches, then singles matches. That said, AEW Fight Pit, yo! Yeah, I think it kind of feels like that too. You have your 2 big matches and then the singles. It does feel a little, the timeline feels a little wibbly wobbly, right? Because you're kind of right. Like, that's, I think I talked about it. I think I talked about it already, where I would have had, like, if you wanted to keep like Blood and Guts first and Inner Circle at the end, Stadium Stampede at the end as the second match, have the guys in the meantime fight each other or fight combinations of each other leading up to the Stadium Stampede match. Then again, the positive here is that we're getting an FTR Pride and Powerful feud, and I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. Thank you very much for your super chat, Anakin. So Matt Cardona, the most WWF guy in the world, shows up at a GCW match this weekend. He's dressed in black from top to bottom. He comes in doing the Jon Moxley swagger, and he starts beating down on Nick Gage. And he reveals himself, so everyone's like, it's Mox, but it's not Mox, it's fucking Matt Cardona, which is the funniest thing. And the place erupted with jeers. Everyone was like, what the fuck is this guy doing here? And it was fantastic. And I'm telling y'all, this gimmick that he has going right now is absolutely phenomenal. It is so good. He is the most WWE guy, a system guy who's been there for years. And he's coming into the most grungiest of indie promotions right now and saying, I can work here, and on top of that, I can fight Nick Gage. Crazy ass Nick Gage, king of the death match. And he's like, yeah, I can take this on. I'm a former WWE guy. And everything he's been doing on social media, like shouting out to the GCW universe, I popped hard. Because he's coming in, he's like, I'm a former WWE superstar. I'm above all you guys. I'll come into your mud show and show you how a real person wrestles, It is the best thing that he could do, that he has done since leaving WWE, and probably one of the better things that he'll do for his career moving forward. More than showing up for 5 matches on AEW, that's for sure. More than having fucking matches with I want to say Heath Slater, but not Heath Slater. I can't think of his name right now. But his buddy from WWE, they're both in Impact right now. Now he's coming into an environment which is naturally hostile to him. They're like a guy who's never spent a minute on the indies. The guy who has no indie cred at all, who comes in and he's like, yeah, no, I'll do this independent stuff. I'm a former WWE guy. And it's so good. And it reminds me, Brian Myers, thank you very much. And it reminds me of when he used to be, when Mick Foley was in ECW and started saying that he wasn't going to be hardcore anymore, right? And that, that kind of reminds me of that. Or RVD, when Rob Van Dam was, did that ECW invasion thing and then came back and he was like, I'm too good to be in ECW. I belong in one of the big two, meaning WWF or WCW, and people just fucking hated RVD for. This is great for him. It's the best move. This is part of a great. This is using his strengths. If anything, our boy here is so extremely self-aware of who he is, what he represents, the monkey he has on his back right now, and he's going to try and shake it off. He's going to at least try and have some fun with it. And that's really cool. And I can get behind this. And this is going to be a fun story to follow on the indies. I mean, Mox has been he's been injured because of all those BTE triggers that he took. It's not because his wife's about to have their first child, give birth to their first child. No, of course not. Mox isn't going to be around to fight Nick Gage soon. How fucking great is this as a transition? I'm so stunned at how much of a good idea this is for Cardona. It really is. Now the question is, what kind of match is he going to have with Nick Gage? Because Gage is going to do a Nick Gage match. It's as simple as that. We saw what he did with David Arquette. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, let's allow ourselves to be entertained by it. So we are going to wrap this up because I've given all the entertainment I can for one evening with the remnants of a migraine. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a good time. I had a very good time. It was a lot of fun stuff to talk about. A lot of great chat tonight. I want to thank everyone for showing up. If you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Be sure to join me next week. If you are a member of the channel, stick around. Check out the community tab and come and join me and the rest of the members as we get into the post stream. We are going to continue this discussion. Can't thank you all enough for popping in this evening. Do give the video a like, do subscribe, do leave a review. Hope everyone has a great weekend.